Mark Carney's big tech censorship power play. Mark Carney has identified large social media platforms as a major challenge to democratic stability and national sovereignty, arguing that Canada must assert stronger control over the digital spaces shaping public life. Under his leadership, a series of legislative measures form an expanding framework of oversight. The Online Harms Act, or Bill C-63, establishes a digital safety commission with authority to penalize platforms and introduce significant fines and potential criminal consequences tied to harmful content. Amendments to hate-related provisions through Bill C-9 seek to broaden and streamline prosecutions under the criminal code. Bill C-8 expands federal cybersecurity and digital infrastructure oversight powers, increasing state visibility into digital systems. Meanwhile, the Online News Act, or Bill C-18, compels platforms to financially compensate Canadian news organizations, reshaping how journalism circulates online. Supporters argue these measures modernize governance in response to misinformation, extremism, and foreign influence, while critics warn that broad definitions of harm, steep penalties, and expanding regulatory authority may incentivize over-censorship, chill lawful speech, and gradually concentrate informational power within political institutions. So, do large social media platforms pose a greater threat to democracy than government overreach, or is that a false choice?
It's preposterous. It's ridiculous. Like, look, social media platforms, they're still in their infancy, right? Like, we're still like a bunch of babies trying to figure these things out. So there are definitely negative consequences, but there's always a price to free speech. And every single time I would pay that price. It's far more valuable. Now we can have information flying across the world at the snap of a finger. You know, you look at what social media has done in the Middle East, you look at what it's done all over the world. Sure, it's been disruptive, but it's been a positive tool for the people, right? Not the government. The government, as I've said before, they continually try to control the means of communication. And this is just one they don't currently have control over. Now, people will argue, yes, they do. It's like, okay, they have one hand on your neck, but not both. And this is the thing is, Carney's trying to put both right now and then just choke this out completely. And then they will effectively own control of the communication, right? Like, look, I don't know what happened to good ideas rise to the top. If you don't like someone's idea, beat it with a better idea, right? That's how the world should work. That's how we should operate. It should be based on merit. And look, I know people are going to say shitty things like, again, this is the price you pay. But when you look at all this legislation and what's happening, here's the real problem you have. The policy that's in place is now adequate to silence Canadians. You've got the Online Harms Act is not even in place yet. Now, the reason I say that is you look at the myriad of bills that are passing or that have passed. But the reason I say there's an adequate infrastructure in place is because in the last week, there were two cases that caught my attention. One was a $500 fine to a hairdresser. And this was from someone who is non-binary who felt like, I don't know, they were offended because they're fucking mentally ill. Is what it is. Sorry, but like,
it was because the online salon, the online booking only had male and female.
Did you see the options that the salon gave this person?
No.
They were like, hey, look, you can book anything you like. We're happy to accommodate. You know, we will create something new for you that you can choose. We will give you 3 free haircuts. None of that was good enough. And this individual, I genuinely don't know if it was a guy or a girl, I just don't know. So this individual wanted $12,500 as the fine. And the Human Rights Tribunal ended up charging them $500. And again, I should know this, and I apologize that I don't. I don't know if this $500 went to the government or went to the person that was quote unquote harmed. But either way, that's horrifying. The second one is much worse in my opinion. Well, maybe not much worse. They're all terrible. The penalty was a lot more significant. $750,000 fine for a school board trustee in BC because they effectively argued that biology is real and there were 2 genders. Now, if you look at the National Post article, it very much mirrored what I just said with a longer explanation. If you look at the CBC article, what it said was that this person was spitting vitriol and offending everybody in the LGBT community. Now, I don't think that's what the school board trustee was doing. I think that they've probably got a reasonable sense of acceptable communication. So I'm leaning more towards the fact that it was probably more like the National Post, and it was offensive because of the claim of just two genders. Now, the problem is this person just got fined $750,000. So this tells you now the apparatus is in place.
Well, let me actually bring out what the guy said, because yeah, you can say that it's aggressive, that it doesn't cut corners, but I mean, this is a pretty normal view in my opinion. So Mr. Neufeld, he said that the insidious new teaching being thrust on children by a powerful lobby group of gay and trans people. In one particularly deranged post, this is the author of the article saying that, he suggested the government will take children and put them in homes where they are encouraged to explore homosexuality and gender fluidity. Now, you can say that that sounds crazy, but what is a classroom during Pride Month at this point? That's what they do. They say there's nothing wrong here. Explore it. This is what it means to be a person, is to explore these things. And so, yeah, he's obviously being over the top of he's being hyperbolic about it.
Yeah, you can lend it to hyperbole for sure.
But at the same time, you could make that case. I'm not even saying that might be where the truth falls.
Sure.
But you could at least understand that there is things happening in our society to make that assumption from.
Right. Exactly. And then you look at that and you go, that guy got fined $750,000. So back to my point, the apparatus is in place to stifle dissent in Canada. And now the big push is to control the social media platforms. They've got a few in place, like Bill C-18. I think Bill C-8, yeah, a little bit. Bill C-63 is digital safety, so that 100% will be. And then whatever else he's got in mind, like if you look at what's happening in the European Union and the UK, well, they've got the online safety bill in the UK, and in the European Union, they've got they got a couple of different things. Digital Safety Act and Digital Markets Act are the two things they have there. And the way that they operate basically is they can fine these social media companies tens of billions of dollars for infractions. I mean, they're constantly kicking off with Musk over what's being said on X, but effectively, when you think about how to control society, well, for us, it's jail time and fines. Okay, well, we're there. And then for the social media companies, it's simply significant enough fines that they're motivated to say, yep, we're just going to toe the line here, which is exactly the direction I think we're going. Therefore, the government is the real problem.
Yeah, well, it's one thing to make these cases about the fact that, say, online speech is becoming more hateful, so to say.
Sure.
I mean, they are right. Like the political conversations and the public conversations are becoming more radicalized.
Well, they're the ones dividing everybody, but that's sure.
But that's not because the government hasn't had control over these platforms.
Right.
It's because we've gone through a decade or two, I would argue multiple decades, but definitely the speeding up of the process over the last decade or two of just complete ideological assault on society with all of the social justice stuff. And so you go, this is the backlash to something you guys did.
Yes.
And then it's sitting there going, oh, well, I have no idea why this stuff exists. It's like, really, you have no idea. You have no idea with everything you were doing over the last decade, telling people that they have to accept mass migration, that they have to believe this gender stuff, that any questioning of it at all is proof that you are either a transphobic, racist, homosexual, or homophobic,
some sort of phobic.
Whatever, something. And it's like, of course, this is where people were going to get to with it. But then too, on top of that, so not only did they create the conditions that they're now trying to silence us over, it's also that they have no leg to stand on when talking about things like disinformation. Even we saw it recently with Rosemary Barton on CBC, right? This is a publicly funded platform that you have to imagine gets direction from their funding, which is the government. Rosemary Barton's talking about the Alberta separation group and how more and more people in Alberta are starting to rally behind Carney and all of this kind of stuff. And then as she's logging off, they cut, but they left her mic on.
Yeah, hot
and she
mic.
goes, yeah, who cares anyway? It's all made up.
Yeah.
And so you've got your hosts acknowledging that everything coming out of their mouths is just propaganda. And then you're saying, we really need to get a hold of this disinformation. It's like, no. What you're saying is we need to monopolize the market with our disinformation.
Correct. And the problem is, in my opinion, the reason they're allowed to do it is they've given their constituents, their loyal constituents, the opportunity to say what they want and be on the moral high ground and penalize the other side. So that's how you get the community support behind this. But again, as I tell people all the time, eventually the shoe will be on the other foot.
Yep.